But we'll get all our presentations in first, and next it is Dominique.
Good morning. I wanted to speak to you about a vision and consideration we have at the Banque Postale, which is a subsidiary of the post office in France. This as to how you can design affordable credit. A few words first on the Banque Postale, which is rather atypical and specific in France. It is the latest or the only public bank in France with a special status. It shares the values of its parent company, accessibility, transparency, and it's a bank that doesn't select its customers. Everyone's accepted. There's no discrimination. And also, we have the largest physical distribution network in France. You know, we have 17,000 distribution points, including 10,000 post offices, which are attended every day by 2 million people. We have a mode of distribution which is rather special because this physical network doesn't belong to the bank but to the post office. But we have distance methods, remote methods, which are very modern and effective, and we're a market maker because competitors base themselves on our prices, our fees every year to update their prices. They look at our fees before they publish their own fees. And we're the most liquid bank in France. This is because we arrived late on the credit market. We lend to all French banks every day on the interbank market, and the French state has conferred on us a mission of banking accessibility. The context in France could be described briefly. We have the Lagarde Act that came into force a year ago in 2011. It's made it possible to improve some of the practices which were predatory as regards advice, the obligation to provide advice and train people, and also to communicate. That was a bit excessive. It was actually predatory when it comes to revolving credit. The name in France for revolving credit has become has banned now because we speak of renewable credit. We've tried to moralize it a bit by changing the word. And we try to verify. There's a more advanced obligation to verify the capacities of the lender, the borrower. And the Banque Postale launched its credit activities at the time when the Lagarde Act was being prepared. And this activity was born at the same time. We wanted to be exemplary. Nevertheless, today, if I look at this from the point of view of banks as a whole, not just the Banque Postale, the Banque Postale wanted to be a model when it comes to distribution of responsible credit, and so did not want to raise any false hopes among its weaker clients. We have roughly 1.6 million that we consider to be in a precarious situation. They have low incomes, or they're over-indebted, or they have other causes of fragility, and we've been very careful not to raise false hopes among these customers who attend the post offices that I mentioned earlier on. And we've often had to refuse or say no to people because people thought that it would be easier to obtain a bank loan there because we promote consumer credit. No, we have been very restrictive. We promote consumer credit among customers of the Banque Postale who are customers already, but we haven't tried to attract too many new clients on the market. This is a strategy that we've gone for. Now, if we look at this more broadly in terms of banks as a whole, the methods of credit distribution are familiar to you. They're based on the history of clients to predict the future and past risks of certain categories of borrowers, so as to be able to say that this or that category is a risky one today and that one shouldn't lend money to them. So we have what we call a black box, within which we find the magic formula, the mysterious formula that will make it possible for a particular person requesting a loan to obtain it, or who will see this loan refused. People find it very difficult to accept and understand this. So how could we change things? Well, one idea, one thought that I like to put forward to you is based on the idea of French-style microcredit. Of course, you heard me right. French style, we have two branches for microcredit. We have the more conventional one that you find all over the world, which we call professional microcredit. This is what makes it possible for somebody to set up a business, a small firm, a small business. And then there's the other branch, which to my knowledge doesn't really exist elsewhere. I haven't heard about this. We call this personal microcredit. And the objective of that form of microcredit is to help somebody start up again in life very broadly in terms of, say, employability or basic welfare or self-esteem. And this can finance just about anything to the extent that this anything is meaningful and is important to the individual in his or her life. Usually we finance vehicles, cars that make it possible for people to look for work. We finance basic equipment in housing which is deprived of heating or sanitary facilities. I'm caricaturing things a bit, but I'm doing this to illustrate our goal. We finance all sorts of things, and this depends on individual situations. And it's not the bank that judges this. It is our partner, because the principle of this form of microcredit is that it is provided by a partner that provides what we call social support or accompaniment. So this idea of support is what marks us out, because this form of microcredit is intended for people for whom there is no credit solution. They are ruled out of credit on the basis of their scores, and at the same time they have no other social solution, because the aim of microcredit is not to replace existing social benefits or social aid. So these people find themselves in a bit of a gap, and they face considerable difficulties in their lives. And this form of social support is of extraordinary value. It's of huge value because it makes it possible to diagnose the fact that microcredit is well suited to these people in terms of their particular situations, and well suited also because these people are able to repay 79 or 82 euro per month out of their budgets. And it is social support that provides us with the initial diagnosis. And then the bank that comes in the second stage, which follows the prescription given by the first player, where, as it were, the pharmacists, whereas the first stage actor is the doctor, as it were, and we provide the microcredit. This is what makes the difference. And then one last slide. I'd like to explain that according to this mode of operation, one can wonder whether someone who has repaid a microcredit loan properly and has done this properly after 18 months or 2 years may not have seen his or her situation improve, may not have found employment. That person's situation may not have got worse either. Can this person be entitled to access to normal credit? Anyway, this is a question that comes up, a question I'd like to put to you. Then there's another thought that I like to put to you. This accompaniment, this support, couldn't it be envisaged for more standard, more conventional forms of credit involving higher sums? Is it a model that could be transposed? This is an idea which I think is worth discussing and studying. That is, banks and support networks should, I think, study this, and it would make it possible for microcredit that I described earlier on, which remains something very, very confidential. It's a niche operation. We provided 10,000 personal microcredit loans last year. It's almost nothing compared with the 2 million people who would probably have needed this kind of thing. So the latest idea I'd like to put forward to you is this. Could we turn this form of microcredit into a sort of lever in order to tackle the problems of real credit, and couldn't we on this basis approach standard or conventional credit in a different way?